All right, you're starting to get my attention. So here we are, Governor Tarkin. I have to admit, I've always kind of hated Tarkin, but also liked him. He is, in short, a character I enjoy hating, and not a get off my screen kind of a character. I have to complain, though, really quick. The opening shot would have worked a lot better if they hadn't already shown multiple ISDs up until this point in time, and kind of shown them to be a joke, too. Hear me out. Picture for a moment if, up to this point in the series, we're what, episode 10 or something like that? Up to this point, all we'd seen is those little patrol craft, maybe a few TIE fighters, the little experimental TIE that the Inquisitor was flying and that they were showing off at the parade, and that's it. Local resources, system resources. Nothing big and nothing fancy, but still something that would be more than a threat for the freighter and the otherwise nothing that the system has. Then imagine this episode shows up, and for the first time in Rebels, we see the classic A New Hope shot with the ISD going overhead. Immediate visual shorthand of the fact that now things have gotten serious. We've gotten an actual ship involved, and of course it's carrying Tarkin, because now we have an actual person involved. I just want to say very quick that Stephen Stanton does an excellent job of Tarkin. He's obviously he's going to be no, Peter Cushing, because Peter Cushing's amazing. But he does a very good job with the role, and I did like it. I also like how every single time Tarkin slams them down verbally, they try to defend themselves, and that defense just gives him more ammo to slam them down even more. It's a nice bit, because as ever, Tarkin is a big fish. He also comes across weird here. I know the AU paints Tarkin a little bit differently than the EU did, and I'm fine with that, because near as I can tell, it's a good portrayal. But one of the things I like is there's this continued, repeated nature of his portrayal that comes across as someone who, well, basically is a veteran. That he's been through this, that he knows what he's doing. He has an almost wisdom to him. And I actually like that portrayal. It also makes him seem more deadly and more dangerous. I hate to skip ahead here, but, well, his final line here, "You don't know what it takes to win a war, but I do." That's a nice touch. And of course, they capture Tarkin perfectly in this episode. Because really, Tarkin's all about the goal. There's no morals there. There's no ethics getting in the way. There's only the objective. Does he have? Notice that there's this earlier scene where he just nails it, of course. The Commandant and the Taskmaster, who've been recurring characters up till now, show up, and they're like, "Oh, sir, we didn't have anything of note. They were just stealing some supplies." Ah, but there is something of note. No casualties. That tells me that these people are trying to avoid violence, despite rebelling. And they're like, "Oh, okay, I guess you're right." And then Tarkin kills them. Or more accurately, Tarkin has the Inquisitor kill them, but you get the point. Now, I bring that up because this is a classic case of villainy escalation. This is something that any long-term serial show or game or movies tend to do to some extent or another. Star Wars itself has done this many times. Villainy escalation, the general process is you spend some time establishing a villain or villainous group. It doesn't, the antagonist, apostrophe S, apostrophe, which may or may not be something that is relevant. And then you have a new villain introduced, and they basically crush the old villain, either in terms of competency or in terms of power, or they literally crush them and actually, kill them and off them. Thus, quickly and efficiently establishing the new character. So rather than spending all the time and effort establishing this new character or this new group or whatever, they're basically piggybacking on all the establishment that's already been done for the previous group. Now, this has a finite point at which this escalation should probably stop, but it's a very classic literary trope. It's used in a lot of things, and I think it's done to good effect here. You'll notice that in that one scene, we establish quite a bit. First of all, that the Commandant and the Taskmaster are really the Team Rocket that we've portrayed them as earlier. And this is probably the only reason the incompetency of the Imperials works at all, is because of this scene. Because you'll notice the Imperials are more competent in this episode than they were in previous ones. Still not fully competent. I mean, someone it took several seconds throwing a grenade at you. It takes a lot less time to pull a trigger, guys. Come on. Anyways. But it establishes that the Inquisitor is, well, ruthlessly evil. Not really a shock, given the way he's got that whole, Von Dracula look going on. But it also establishes that Agent Callus doesn't think that way. He is surprised, shocked at what they do to killing his own men. The minister is horrified, and that's both of those points are relevant because that shows a little bit more insight into their character. Agent Callus, for all of his "I am with the ISB and the Empire is right," has never quite dipped over that line into actual just horrificness. And the minister, well, like I said before, she's certainly on the propaganda side of things, but I've gotten this very sincere vibe that she drinks the Kool-Aid, so to speak, that she actually believed the Empire was, correct, and that the rebels were wrong, and that she's an important person, right? She's got to be, right? I mean, she was the one left in charge. Now she's seeing a little bit more of reality, because Tarkin, well, Tarkin's a big fish. I like how Ezra, when he's admitting that he doesn't want to lose the crew, he does it with frustration. It's very human, a very teenager. Like, it's irritating to him that he actually has to admit that he feels this way. He does feel this way, and that's why he admits to it, but it's still like, oh, I don't want to lose you, okay? Don't make me say it. Just a nice little bit. And, of course, Kanan admits what I mentioned several episodes ago, that he and Ezra are effectively learning together, which is probably for both's benefit. So, I'm looking at my notes here. I think that's actually basically everything. This was a good episode, and the episode even ends quietly. It'll be curious to see where they take this, because I know we're reaching the end of Season 1 here, and so I decided to ask several people on my Discord, as well as friends and other people I know, what they thought of Rebels, because usually everyone, when they talk about Clone Wars, say, give it a few seasons and it gets good, and even I have that opinion now, having gone through it for the Mini-Nations. But everyone in Rebels said that basically the exact same thing. Season 1's just filler, but then it gets good. And there were a couple of exceptions there. I'm going to hold off on my full thoughts on that until we get to the end of Season 1. But so far, well, let's just say that I believe now is when things are finally going to start escalating. And it'll be interesting to see where they go.